In that moment, I was like, what the fuck do I even need? Like my whole life is in this fucking apartment. Like, and in that moment, I was like, you really have to figure out what is the most important things to you. And I've never had to do that before.
What's going on, internet? Welcome back to Girls vs. World. I'm very excited for this second episode today because we're actually going to lead in from the previous Girls vs. World episode. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to that, I suggest that you do just to get the lore, if anything, okay? And also, that episode is kind of leading into this episode because in this episode today, we're going to be talking about toxic fucking relationships. So let's roll the intro music and get into it. Girls, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, happy to be here.
I'm so excited to be back here with you two.
Me too.
Should we start off? Wait a minute. Should we start off with banter box, or do y'all just want to tell the audience about your fucking weeks? Because you had a crazy ass week, Casey.
This week has sucked ass.
Yeah.
This week has truly sucked ass.
Please elaborate.
So I live in an apartment complex and there was a fire in our apartment building.
Literally my worst nightmare. Like actual.
I've never had a fear of fires until now.
Yeah,
I've also never realized that how ill prepared I was for a fire until now.
Yeah.
Girl, you're not going to be prepared for a fire until you experience that shit. And then you get your ass in check.
I didn't even have the concept of stop, drop, and roll. Like that was not even there for me.
Yeah.
Like it was automatic freeze.
It's not funny, but I'm so sorry. I'm laughing.
Like what? Like where were you in the apartment when this started?
So me and Alex were literally sitting on the couch. And here's the thing. We live in a rather shitty apartment complex.
It's not shitty.
It's low income.
Gotcha.
So that just tells you about like the maintenance, the type of building that we're living in.
Gotcha.
It's definitely not renovated. It's not new. It's not anything. It's cheap and outdated completely. But the fire alarms have been malfunctioning because of the cold. So every time it gets cold in the wintertime, the fucking fire alarms go off all the fucking time.
At the hotel I worked at too.
There was one night it was going off literally every fucking 2 hours in the night last weekend. So I thought when the fire alarms started going off, I was like texting my neighbor. I'm good friends with my neighbor, Jesse. And I was like, oh shit, it's the fire alarms going off again. Haha. Like what a fucking bummer. Like it's every time it drops below 32. And she was texting me back. She's like, are you dead ass? And we were joking about it. Then we get a knock on the door and it's our other neighbors from upstairs. And they were like, no guys, like there's a fire. Cause I opened the door. I was like, I can't believe this is happening again. They were like, no, like there's a fire.
Oh my God.
And automatically I was just like, oh,
yeah,
like this is for real.
Like, what do I do?
Like we stepped outside to the front of our apartment building and there were flames coming out of the windows. Like, so our apartment building is in like 3 tiers. There's 3 different entrances, and 3 like towers of apartments in the whole big unit. And it had caught like all the way up to the 3rd floor. But when the first fire alarm went off, within 30 seconds, I heard the fire department, like the sirens from the fire trucks.
God damn.
So Alex was freaking out. Well, like he was very cool, calm, and collected, but he was like, get everything you can.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, get whatever you want to take. And in that moment, I was like, what the fuck do I even need? Like my whole life is in this fucking apartment.
Yeah.
Like
that's literally so terrifying.
And I didn't know what to grab. I grabbed a portrait that my sister-in-law drew me of my dead dog. I grabbed my dog's a bag of her clothes and her old blanket because that's all I have left of her. I grabbed something from my grandmother, something of my grandmother, and something of my grandfather's, and that was it.
Yeah,
my medication and the bag the box that had all of my like vital documents in it. That was the only things I grabbed.
Yeah.
And I walked outside. I was like, I don't even have any clothes. Like that was like, and in that moment, I was like, you really have to figure out what is the most important things to you. And I've never had to do that before. Like I've never had to prep for something that fast and make those kind of decisions of like, holy shit, like I'm walking out of this building and I may not see all of my fucking things again.
Yeah,
like,
it's really terrifying.
And I was in panic. And the fire department was there. They were evacuating everyone. Me and Alex were like going between like the front and the back of the building, like trying to get as much, like run in and out. Like we were piling shit into my car,
so
like as much as we could. Like we just kept going in and out until the fire department was like, no, you cannot fucking go back in there.
That's like literally my worst nightmare.
But thank God the fucking fire was actually isolated to like that tower and it didn't spread into like our apartment walls. So it was well contained. They put it out within like 30 minutes.
That's great.
But
your apartment's okay, right?
My apartment has minimal damage, but there was 8 apartments that are like not habitable.
And the fire started like right next to your fucking apartment.
It started in the apartment that like builds up and shares a wall with my kitchen.
That's fucking crazy.
So, what they said started the fire was like the fans, like the ventilation fans that are in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Someone left that fan on, I guess, for like days on end, and the electrical wires caught fire. And it went straight up, like all 3 apartments.
That's literally so scary.
So the fire department, they like broke a hole into our ceiling, like where the walls were shared, to like make sure it wasn't like in the walls or anything. Because that's where the fire started, was in the walls.
Yeah.
So they had to break down all of the walls and stuff. So there's a hole in the ceiling. They came today, but the smoke was pouring into our room since they opened the hole. It was basically like a ventilation hole, like right into our apartment. So we've been staying at his parents' house, washing our shit. Thank God we have renter's insurance.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. Because like I feel like a lot of people don't even like think to actually get renter's insurance.
Well, and it's crazy because the people that like their apartment got the worst of the fire. I saw them outside talking to the property manager the night of the fire, because like there was not even like electricity. There was no water. There was no heat to our apartments for like 2 days.
Crazy.
And so people had to leave, and their apartment got destroyed, and they're like, what do you do? Like, do you guys take care of this? Do you guys fix this? And they're like, well, like your renter's insurance will like cover all your stuff and your displacement. And they're like, well, isn't renter's insurance included in rent? And then she was like, no, like,
oh shit.
And they lost
get on the Lemonade app, girls.
That's literally so scary.
That is so scary.
Yeah, it was so wild. I feel like I'm still trying to regulate from it.
Yeah, which is super fair. Like that is fucking bonkers.
Yeah, like I came over to hear Brie afterwards because we were about to start eating dinner.
Yeah, I was like, cook your steak here.
But like, I feel like I walked in here and was just like, I can't. Like, I was just like in freeze.
I felt like you were still shaking when I hugged you.
Like I was dissociated, like completely.
Like that is constantly something that I'm worried about, like all the time. Like
I've never worried about it.
Yeah, it's scary.
Those were never my intrusive thoughts. Mine were like house robbery, murderer, like fist.
Without like even knowing all the details. Like when you had like said that like there was like a fire in your building, I mentioned it to Travis and I was like, we have like a course of action for this, and he said that he does. Like he actually does. Yeah, thank God. Because I was like, okay, great. That actually, because I wouldn't think to be like, oh, like let me make sure I have like a box that's just like easy to grab and get out. Like my first thoughts would be like obviously my kid, my animals,
right?
But like I wouldn't think like documents and shit. Really.
Yeah, I was like my medication, like. But I didn't even think like Alex grabbed me a pack of birth control, like. And like then I think about like the things like Alex still like took time to grab stuff that he thought would be important for me that I forgot.
That's awesome.
So like. I'm gonna cry. Fuck.
Don't do that.
It's okay. You can cry.
No, you like grabbed my brother's obituary and I felt like an asshole because I fucking forgot it.
But don't feel like an asshole because you're so frantic in that moment.
You know?
Yeah, of course.
It was so fucked up.
Yeah.
It's not fucked up. I feel like one partner can go into freeze and the other one can go into fight mode.
Like,
you know what I mean?
That means that it's like a well-balanced relationship.
I'm
if anything,
trained to be in crisis. You know what I mean?
But like you never are prepared yourself. Like
you're trained to handle other people's crisis,
exactly,
not your own crisis. It's different, you know?
Yeah, and like that does go to show that like you guys are a good match.
Yeah,
because that means that like where like you're level-headed, like. Maybe he isn't and vice versa. And like you guys are able to ground each other in those moments and like also like kind of like anticipate your needs. Like he was literally in like, okay, like how do I anticipate Casey's needs? Like, what can I get for her? That's like a good partner.
Right.
Yeah. That's absolutely not toxic.
Yeah. No,
which is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Today.
That is the opposite of a toxic relationship.
Yeah. He wasn't like, this was move your fucking ass.
Yeah.
This was just toxins in the air. That's all.
Yes,
literally so much toxins.
I'm really sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
That was like actually my biggest fear in owning a house that also has older electricity.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like I can't imagine. Yeah. It's okay. I've held back tears a couple times on this podcast as well.
You know what's so funny was that I was at Target the other day. I was like, I should get a box of tissues for people. And then I forgot to grab them.
Because sometimes shit gets real on your
It does get real.
podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like real life shit.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's Euro versus IRL, except this is girls versus world. That's some crazy shit though. Like seriously,
it was fucking wild.
the world really threw that shit at you this week.
And like my nail broke the same day. I got my period that
Fuck
day.
that.
Like,
Your
cool,
body
I don't
was
have
in
tampons.
such panic that it was like
expel everything.
my toxic positivity like mindset goes to like, well, you got it out of the way now,
Right.
so you're good for the rest of your life. Like,
Right.
hopefully, like fingers crossed, because I feel
Yeah.
like house fires are not like a super duper common thing. Like, not everybody deals with that. So hopefully, like,
Well, I went to the dispensary the day after, and the dude was like, "How's your weekend?" I was like, "Well, not so fucking great."
Yeah.
Did he give you a discount? I hope he
No,
did.
but he told me
I
to
would have.
fuck
I would have been like, take it.
He was like, "It's funny. My buddy lives in an apartment complex like that. It went up in flames twice," and I was like, "Cool."
Oh, that's
Thanks,
exactly
bro.
what I need to
Cool.
hear. Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Awesome.
I do think that, like, if anything, like, if maybe that might help. Like, okay, well, like, what are the odds that could possibly even fucking happen? Again?
Right.
You know
Like,
what I
I'm
mean?
going to prepare a bug out bag,
Which
Like,
is good to
Yeah,
have.
that's good.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that you're probably got that out of the way for your life.
Hopefully,
Lifeline.
I
let's
hope
fucking
so.
hope so.
Shit.
Yeah.
God
How's
damn.
everyone else's week been going?
Yeah, Sydney, how's your week?
Well, my week's been okay. We've been watching lots of Squid Games this
Okay.
week.
We love that.
However, I did have quite a few people reach out to me about the last episode that we did.
Oh,
Some of them,
shit.
lots of like, kudos, girl. Like, what a good episode. A lot of like support, but then also like a couple people that, you know, even though I didn't name anybody, like, were not stoked to be addressed, I suppose.
Yeah, but those are the toxic people that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And if
Sure
the shoe
were.
fits moment.
Yeah. And you know what? The craziest part was I actually had to like even think, like, did I even bring that person up?
And you
I know,
didn't.
I know I ended up, I did.
You did?
I listened back. I sure did. But
And what?
and what about it? Like, I'm not sorry about it. Like, I'm not the person that like created the issue that was
Right.
disclosed.
You're literally
But
and I
think
also
that
didn't
the
even disclose all of it. So
But I think that you could have drugged them much worse
I
when
sure-
you
I-
originally
yeah.
talked about them.
no, I
for
100% could have.
one.
Yeah.
And two, once you shared the context of like this person's actual actions,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, she fucking sealed the nail in her own fucking coffin.
But also, like, I handled that whole situation like very gracefully.
very, very,
very
gracefully.
kindly.
And
You
then
were
with
so much
kindness.
kinder than I
So-
would have been.
Oh, one or two like fuck yous on a podcast without a name drop. Like, I think that you'll be just fucking fine. You know what I mean?
Thanks for the listen, though.
Yeah, like
We appreciate you.
I'm sure they're listening right now.
Yep. Mhm.
But
Welcome
yeah,
back.
like, so that was like not even like a pain point, which I actually do want to talk about. I'm very proud of myself that it's not a pain point because I didn't even see that text until like days later.
Yeah.
And I felt like super comfortable in that, like, no, I didn't fucking do a goddamn thing wrong and I'm not sorry about
Right.
it. And you can suck it the fuck up.
Like you don't feel like you're ruminating on it.
No, and like
Good for
the
you.
thing
That's
is
good.
too, like when I said like fuck you, like I didn't necessarily mean it in like a I hate that person type of way.
No, but like a fuck that
But like
situation.
it's
Yeah.
almost worse when somebody that you care so much about like does something so fucked up to you.
Yeah, there's so much
Yes.
grief that also
Yeah.
comes with a friendship breakup.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. So like
that's not talked about.
Even
Yeah.
if you just grow distance with your friend and like even if nothing happened, like a lot of the times, like when you don't get that kind of closure, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's grief.
Yeah.
yeah. My situation was not distance grown though. I just
Yeah.
yeah.
Ooh, but you know what? I'll say this. I definitely value my time that I spent with that person
Mhm.
and our friendship. And I don't regret being friends with that person if that
No, of
makes them
course
feel
not.
better. I just am totally good. Anybody that is not about my fucking kid
Mm-hmm.
can
Right.
fuck off.
Kick rocks. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's that on that.
And that's that on that.
Damn right.
Yeah. So no more toxic relationships for me, or especially not.
and not for baby Theo.
Yeah, baby
Okay.
Theo does not need to be a part of that.
He's going to have healthy communication skills.
120%. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Was your week cool?
My week was pretty cool. I feel like I got a cat. I got a Sphynx cat.
That's fucking
We love
bomb.
her.
We
Yeah,
love her.
literally.
She's the
Bring her into the
best.
chat.
Love Blossom. I sing the Powerpuff Girls theme song to her at least 50 times a day.
I literally love that.
Yeah, she's the best. And honestly, she's been a really chill cat
Dude,
so
she's pretty
far.
Yes.
sweet.
Yeah, she just like sleeps a lot, finds a
Yeah.
heated blanket, chills, but she does like to step in her own shit and then walk through the house. So that's really
I love
annoying.
that. Well, you
Yeah.
know what? My grown human child will probably do that at some point as well.
Yeah, I'm good on that. The cat, at least her paws are like this big, so it's not that bad. But I actually do have a banter box story to lead us into this week, revolving around the, I guess, topic of toxicity, because we were talking about that in the last episode when we were talking shit about Sammy's sweetheart. Okay, now this banter box story that I have is actually something that I'm pulling from the internet because I saw a situation that resonated with me super fucking hard because I can relate to it. And I want to get you guys' advice on it or your opinions on it. So girl number one, right, has this boyfriend that she's dating. And she is like a TikToker. She's like kind of like internet famous, whatever. And she's been making TikToks on her own for a super long time. Huge fucking numbers, huge numbers. Gorgeous girl, right? Then girl number two comes into the picture. They become friends on the internet, I guess, just through TikTok, whatever. And the two girls start like FaceTiming all the time. They just become like girly pop friends, whatever. And they start FaceTiming each other, get really close. And then finally they meet up, I guess. And girl number one and girl number two start making TikToks together. Girl number two is now getting more TikTok famous. After a couple of months, girl number one finds out that girl number two slept with her boyfriend. Yeah. And never told her about it. And I guess this had happened on like multiple occasions. Like it wasn't just like they were like hooking up, like they were like actually like a thing and never said shit to her about it. Yeah.
So I have some thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
My first thought is like, if you actually like want to befriend somebody and you have that knowledge and they don't, that's already like not fair. Like
Malintended.
exactly.
Yes,
like what are your
malicious.
intentions? But also, even if your intentions are like fully that you only want to be friends with that person, it just so happens that they're dating somebody that you used to have a thing with.
Yeah.
Like they deserve that information like to be disclosed. To them.
Yeah.
I would probably feel some type of way like if I befriended somebody and then they were like, hey, just so you know, but I would feel way worse if they didn't like let me have like a choice in whether I wanted to like be close with them or not. Like I feel like I would at least, you know, be like appreciative that like they're being forthcoming about that and like take some time.
I think girl number one found out about this relationship between girl number two and her boyfriend because they were snooping through her. She was snooping through her boyfriend's phone.
She didn't do her research.
Oh,
Because here's my thing. As a girlfriend, I know about all your fucking exes.
damn right.
That's true. Yeah.
Damn
I
right.
don't care if that's toxic, but I know your exes and your
Yeah.
flings and what was a fling and what was a relationship.
Yeah, I do feel like
Yeah.
I like even if it's none of my business, like I'm like, no, I need to know.
I need to know,
I
and I
wanna
need to
know.
find your Instagram,
Yeah.
and I need to know what you're doing in life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I and like if there's like some sort of weird like anything I should be worried about kind of vibe, because like I have been cheated on. So like there have been times where I'm like, okay, like my initial thought now that you're saying that would be like if I found that out, I would be like, why did you not disclose this
Well, and that's what I was
about
gonna
this
say.
girl?
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys still talking? Like, is
Also,
there still
you
a
know I'm
relationship?
becoming friends with her. Like,
Yeah.
why is this bitch in my DMs?
True. Like, why
Well-
the fuck isn't he like Travis would be like, Sydney, I just need to let you know something.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you may come into contact with this girl. You guys do the same kind
Yeah.
of thing. If you run into her, just for full transparency, X, Y, and Z happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now you know, and it doesn't have to be all that. Like,
Yeah.
but now that you didn't tell me and I'm finding out,
Yeah.
now I'm mad at both of y'all.
Mhm.
And like, if
yeah, girl number one broke up with her boyfriend.
Yeah, now it's like pointing fingers at both of you. Like,
Yeah.
you both fucked up.
Yep.
Yeah, because like, and it also, I feel like there's a lot of like factors to that too. Like, how long was this friendship going on before she found out?
Right.
Because if it was like she came over one time and that was 2 days ago, and now. I'm still pissed off at my boyfriend.
No. They were friends for months.
But that's the crazy part, because how come neither one of you fucking said anything? But I'm looking more at my boyfriend.
And if you're friends with me for months, that means that you're coming over to my house. You're around my boyfriend most likely.
Yeah.
So that's making it hella uncomfortable. And now both of you are fucking sitting in that awkwardness.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what the fuck's going
like, can I go
on.
take a piss and like you guys are like
making out?
Yeah, or like, oh, remember that time? Like, are you guys like discussing that? Like,
right? Because now, what the fuck are y'all doing? Do I have to worry about you now? You know what I mean? Like, even if it has
inspiring about getting the story straight of what are you going to tell her if we tell her? What are you going to?
It's giving that Christmas movie that was like new this year. The one with Lindsay Lohan. Did either one of you watch that?
Didn't.
I think I did recently.
Yeah, it's like that's kind of like a similar vibe. Like she shows up to like a party or Christmas party and like with her new boyfriend, and like the sister's dating her ex-boyfriend.
Yes.
And neither one of them, they decide that they're not going to tell the family.
Yep. And then they do at the end of the movie.
And then it turns out that like it's just closed.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just not cool with it. I'm not cool with it.
I feel that. And you know what? Like watching this story unfold on the internet, because now the two girls are in like a TikTok war, which I'm sure is doing great for their numbers.
Right.
Like, go ahead, get your bag. But
yeah, I'm sure that's part of like the...
Yes, of course. Now the back and forth, you're showing this one's story on your phone and stitching them and blah, 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 whatever. I mean, if you're going to do it, I fucking guess go for it.
And I am inhaling that shit.
So
whenever I see it on my timeline.
I'm looking for part 27.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
Yeah. But that one hit a little close to home for me because I had a similar situation happen.
Tell me.
To me. So I'm realizing now, like, as I was like reflecting and thinking about filming this episode, I was like, have I been in any toxic relationships? Yes, but I didn't realize that it was toxic at the time.
I have like 20 of those.
Oh my God. No, I didn't. I thought that I was a girl that was like, I've been in like one abusive relationship or whatever, but like, you know, my odds are been pretty good. No, this motherfucker that I was dating when I was in my early 20s, toxic as fuck. First of all, I ended up breaking up with him. He started like befriending this girl that looks super similar to me, does the same shit that I do. I'm talking about like creating content, racing cars, blah, blah, blah. Same skin tone as me.
There's a type.
Like, yeah, right? So, but I didn't think so because he had never dated anybody that looked like me before. So I was confused, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, this girl
said, I don't got no type.
Also, this girl, unfortunately for me, in my brain was much smarter than me because she was in like med school. Okay. Anyways, he starts like befriending.
What's that got to do with it?
I didn't even graduate from college.
That means nothing. You could be a doctor and you could be still doing what you're doing. It's just as valuable in a different sense. Don't stop saying that about yourself, that just because someone's book smart doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true.
You know how to flip a car and survive.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, my back would be all types of fuck.
Yeah, but who the fuck flips a car on purpose? Anyway, hold up. So this girl, right? He becomes friends with this girl, and like it's just like a random friendship. But he becomes friends with her boyfriend, and like her best friend, which I was like, interesting dynamic. Okay, whatever. He starts going to her races. He's like supporting her, like helping her, like work on her car, this, that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They're messaging back and forth on the internet all the time.
Have you met her at this point?
No.
Why?
So I'm immediately like, what the fuck?
Immediately.
Also has the same car as me.
Immediately, why are you befriending another girl and not running it by me?
Yeah.
Very confusing,
We're
right?
like just bringing it up, being like, I want you to meet like her.
This person,
yeah,
right.
Like
anything. Like
when Alex met you at the reunion, he ran it by me when he came home. He was like, this is who I met. Like, we're talking about a birthday party.
I ran into somebody at Target with you the other day, and I immediately came home and told Josh, and I was like, oh, you should meet him, whatever. I've known him since I was in high school, bus buddies, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so he goes to like a couple races, whatever, when I'm out of town, stays with them at the races, like in a cabin, whatever. Then finally, I go to a race.
I'm like out of town, but I'm with. I'm in the parking lot with binoculars.
I'm calling the cops on your fucking house.
Yeah.
How about that? I'm calling the cops.
Yeah, I got a telescope.
I'm calling a bomb threat into your home.
Oh my god!
How about that?
Crazy.
Yeah,
Casey's fucking crazy.
You're not leaving.
I'm out of town. It wasn't me.
Right? Crazy.
I have an alibi.
You're staying in your
allegedly
tree bush in the backyard.
Yep. Needless to say, I go to a race, meet her for like the first time, whatever. I broke up with that motherfucker 2 days later.
Yeah.
2 days
Was
later.
it one of these? Oh my God. Hi. It's so nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Side eye.
Yeah. Boyfriend talked to me more than she did. And now she still tries to be friendly with me, which is like,
I don't fuck with that.
interesting.
I don't fuck with that.
Yeah.
No.
So was she aware of you?
Yeah. Girl, we were like an
And she was
internet
still-
couple. Like
Because
both
here's my
drivers.
thing on her
like,
end. Like, if she's aware of you, I'm then if he's not gonna introduce you, then I'm reaching out and I'm introducing
That's
myself
how
to
a girl's
you.
girl
has a boyfriend.
True girl's girl is. Yeah.
But she has a boyfriend.
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It does not matter.
So did she end up hooking up with your ex?
I don't, from what I understand, nothing ever happened. But I actually heard from another friend of mine recently that girl that I was just talking about was doing the same thing to one of my friend's friends recently.
Like, she's not a girl's girl, and I
No.
don't fuck with
That
her.
screams pick
You're
me.
not allowed to be friends with her.
Right.
As the mother of the group.
Thank you,
You're not allowed to
Sydney.
be
I
friends with
appreciate it,
her.
Mama Bear.
Yeah,
God.
Mama Bear syndrome on full blast.
Uh-huh.
Like, there's like an invisible like boundary around you.
An invisible bubble.
They cannot
Not a
cross.
good friend, not a good boyfriend.
I know. And you know
that's
what?
just like and like also fuck
toxic
him
all around.
because like even if nothing happened, there's obviously like an interest there.
Right.
Right.
Like,
And
let's
honestly,
be real.
I'm kind of mad that I did not do my due diligence and snoop through his phone before I broke up with him. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of wish I would have done that. I know that
To
shit is
confirm
toxic as fuck to do,
Mhm.
but like, I'm already going to dump your ass anyway. So like,
Mhm.
what's the point now? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Speaking
Should
of
we
which,
talk about snooping?
Yeah,
I
I
was
was
gonna
gonna say we
ask.
looking through each other's phones.
yeah, I'm
like,
a little
what's up with that?
curious.
We little
I've
toxic?
never. So I've looked through people's phones in the past,
Okay.
in past relationships that were very much toxic relationships.
Mhm.
With Alex and I've never looked through his phone. I don't even have the password to his phone.
God damn.
great.
I don't even have his fucking location.
Mhm.
Like,
What?
No.
Girl, what? I'd be like, can you stop at
No.
the store on your way home from?
No, I don't
Hey,
even
I
have
see you're
his
passing
location.
a Wawa.
Yeah,
Here's my thing though. I know generally what he's doing when he's doing it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't ever worry about like what he's doing on the internet.
Yeah.
He sends
Yeah.
memes to his boys, and when he's out late, he's playing Magic fucking with his boys.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I
literally.
mean?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
he's doing fucking stupid boy shit. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I
Yeah.
never have to worry about him like stepping out or
Yeah.
like he'll even tell me, he'll come home and tell me, he'll be like, this lady flirted with me in the checkout line. And I'm like, okay.
Josh is
You're
oblivious
like,
to
oh.
anybody flirting with him. He's like, they were really nice. I'm like, they were flirting with you.
Oh, we've had this conversation before. Trav like also has had things where like girls are clearly like trying to like touch up on him.
Yeah,
But do
refer
girls,
back
like,
to
know
the
who
Rockstar's
Trav
Girlfriend
is?
Yeah.
episode.
Okay.
If
See,
you're
like,
into like
then I would have-
metalcore, like
yeah.
you know who Travis
Right.
is.
Yes, yeah.
And so there were like multiple like times where, which I know I talked about in like the episode that we did, but like
Yeah,
when he'd
Rockstar's
be on
Girlfriend.
tour and I would see like certain girls, I was like fucking, if it got too close for comfort or where
Yeah.
I was like uncomfortable and not appreciating
Right.
it, I would DM them and be like, I don't fucking appreciate this.
Yeah,
Right.
Sydney came crazy.
So
She
since
was
you
like,
yeah.
hey,
had
girly.
that kind of exposure, did you ever feel a need to look through his phone?
So not like, no, not in the way that you think,
like because of that. Like
but there was like two times I looked through his phone. One time was totally on me. I had a bad dream. That he
Mhm.
did
Like
something
that.
bad. It was in the beginning of our relationship. I had just like before I dated him been in a relationship where someone was cheating on me
Mhm.
often, and I did have to look through his phone for like evidence.
right.
Mhm.
And I always found it. So
Of
I
course,
had
when you go snooping, you're gonna find something.
Right.
exactly, but it was always I always found what I was expecting to find in that
Mhm.
scenario. But there was one time where I had a dream that Trav like was being mean to me, as I often do because I'm paranoid. And I woke up and I looked through his phone, and I immediately felt remorseful. And he was like a sleeping little baby angel cherub. And I just sat up and basically stared at him for like 2 hours. He woke up and he was like, "Good morning." And I was like, "I looked through your phone and I'm really sorry about it, and I'll never do it again." But then he looked through my phone as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he was not trying to hide it either.
Right.
He looked through my phone once because like I had him like befriended one of his friends.
Mhm.
And one time we were arguing and he asked me if I had vented about it to his friend. And I lied and said no. And I'm not a good liar. So he went through my phone, found the text, screenshotted them, and then went into the edit app on my own phone and circled it in red for me to find it later.
Fucking
So one day I'm like
savage.
scrolling through my pictures and I just see this screenshot with like thick red circle around it. And it was literally just like me being like, "I'm so upset because me and Travis got in a fight and blah, 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 blah." And he was like, "You did it once. I did it once. Eye for an eye, bitch."
Savage
But
Travis.
honestly speaking though, like me and him, like, I mean, what am I going to find on his phone? Like porn?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I don't fucking care to see that shit. Like
Right.
there's nothing I have no desire to look through his phone, because if I see that shit, I'm gonna be like icked out.
Yeah.
And that's probably the worst that I would find.
Right.
Other than like he's just talking about video games with his friends, probably.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I mean, I have his phone password. He has mine. I think even for me, because like he goes through my phone technically all the time, just because I'm always like, can you?
That's how it is. Alex
Like,
has mine.
He has
Josh is
his,
like that with me
his
too.
face ID on my phone.
Yeah.
Like I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't care.
Yeah.
So yeah, like not in this relationship much. My last relationship though, as soon as that motherfucker went to sleep, I was like, screenshot sent to myself, like, what's this? But to be fair, he was like constantly hitting up internet girls, and like we're cool now. Like we're actually like pretty good friends now. So like no shade, but yeah, he started that, and I definitely brought a little bit of that toxicity into my very healthy relationship with Travis. Now then eventually Travis and I did hit a little bit of a toxic patch.
Oh.
Which I feel like actually I want to bring up on this podcast, because I feel like a lot of people don't really talk about like how sometimes toxic relationships, like you can come back from them.
Right.
Like we started off really healthy, and then when we moved in together, it was like we hated each other for like a year.
Oh shit.
And it was like we were arguing like every fucking day.
And what did you guys do to get through it?
Honestly, like, I mean, I think that like me and him just like, it was worth it to like stick it out and to like see it through.
Right.
Mhm.
And once we got past that year and we started to get used to it, and like I think it also was helpful because he was touring at the time. So like
You had some
he would
time
go
off. Yeah.
away for like 5 weeks.
Right.
So like we had like some time apart and like to miss each other. And so I honestly don't think that like we would have necessarily made it through that period of time if he wasn't touring, as hard as it was in some ways. I think that it did get like force us to like have time to like miss each other and really reflect on like the good parts of our relationship. So I think like for us, like we really have like done so much. I mean, we're in couples therapy.
Yeah.
And like we do it preventatively. And like I suggest it, even for the most healthy relationships, I suggest couples therapy if you can like afford or you have the means to have it.
We do it like once every season or so, like once every like 3 months ish, and then if something comes up,
And
then
I think
maybe we'll dive in.
like we do it like I think like once or twice a month.
That's smart.
And I think it's just like really healthy because like I've learned so much about Travis. Like we've been doing this since we started like to have kids. Like once I got pregnant, we decided to start doing couples therapy preventatively to ensure that we're constantly on the same page.
Right.
And it just gives you like a different perspective, like having a third party, like explain in like your own terms, like what the other person means by what they're saying. So like, I think just like really working through it and communicating and like, I don't know, just like one of the biggest obstacles is that like the way that I like love languages, like the way that I desire and need to be loved, communicated to is the opposite of Travis. Like we have different attachment styles. Like I'm very anxious attachment style. He's very like avoidant attachment style. So like we're always awesome except for when there's like conflict.
Right.
So I think like now we are at the point where when there is conflict, we have like a step-by-step, like basically like we have to follow like
there's a guide.
Guidelines.
Yeah.
And that helps as well.
I mean, there's also like fair fighting rules is like what my therapist talks about. Like there's like rules to follow, like when you're in conflict with your partner.
And I think when you're like used to toxic relationships, it can get really easy to like just say whatever the fuck.
Right.
Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true.
Yeah. So like, I feel like nobody has to stay in a toxic relationship. Like I said, like sometimes like me and him, like, you know, arguments might not be the best, or we might not like follow the guidelines perfectly, but like that's what, if we need it, we have like a backup plan, which is therapy. And like, you know, it always like anytime we have like a therapy session, we're always feeling like great.
Right. That's awesome.
Good for
That's
you.
super healthy.
Yeah. So definitely recommend it to people if you're just like having a difficult time navigating conflict and
also
communication.
like it's a great way to just do check-ins and like make sure everything is cool if you're not like, if it's not easy for you to just bring up like a check-in randomly. I do that shit all the time. I'd be like, how we feeling, how's the water, it's just like testing it out, you know what I mean? Just trying to see like what the temperature is like, make sure there's nothing that I'm doing on a regular basis that's starting to piss you off that is going to now start building up as resentment and shit like that. And actually I learned that from my toxic relationship because I felt like he would constantly like have these little tiny things that were building up. Actually, I'm going to keep talking about this motherfucker. He would have these tiny little things that would like build up about me that then he would just like randomly like explode and like get pissed off about shit. So yeah, I don't do that shit. Honestly, no offense, Dad, but my dad is one of those kinds of people where he's like, the barrel finally gets the last drop and it tips over and he's spilling everything. He won't.
But
like,
you know what? I'll say too, this is not an excuse in any means for that sort of behavior. It does explain it though. Like, society is toxic to men in that they
because they
like
can't show their emotions.
You can't share their emotions. They can't talk about like how they're feeling or the stress or if they're sad or whatever. Like,
and then the only emotion that they're okay with is anger.
Anger.
Yes.
Like they can't, cry. They have to just be angry. That's like my pop is dealing with that currently with my Bram. Like he's just a fucking asshole to everybody because he's clearly upset about what's happening and like it's just like a bad situation.
Yeah, my dad's scary when he gets upset. I did look through my ex's phone enough because I had enough reason to. I think there was like real early on in our relationship, he had said I love you, and I felt like there was some weird sketchy shit going on because of the way that he said it. Like I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Anyway, he like used to work at BMW and was just honestly always talking about the fact that he's so glad that he works at this dealership. He goes the opposite way of traffic, whatever, blah, blah, blah. One day randomly, he's like, I think I'm going to switch dealerships. I'm going to go like to LA to work over there. And I was like, you always talk about how the traffic is like good the way that you go to work because you go north and the traffic goes south in the morning and vice versa and that whatever. Anyways, I had like a weird feeling and I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? So I decided to look through his phone. For the first time in my life, I'd ever looked through somebody's phone. It worked. He was in the shower. So I grabbed the phone off of his nightstand, looked through his phone and found out he basically told me like, oh, this person that works at the front desk at the BMW dealership just moved to this other BMW dealership and they're saying that like it's so much better there. I was like,
there?
Exactly.
You straight man.
Exactly. Because what the fuck are you doing using
you
they, them pronouns? Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what the fuck are you doing saying that kind of shit? So I immediately knew it was a girl. Like I was like, oh, okay, yeah, service desk, got it. All right. So anyways, I looked through his phone, not finding anything. I was like, So then I start looking through his Instagram. I was scrolling through his Instagram and I was like, I'm not seeing anything. And then he gets a new message. I was like, what's this? So I tap on it. No other messages from this girl, right? Except for, how come you didn't text me back? And I was like, So then
I'm like, I know everything about you. Within the next, yeah, I'm again in the bushes with my binoculars on.
Yup. Literally left that on scene because I was like, who the fuck is this? And why are you talking about why didn't you text me back? And there's no other messages in here. She sends another message that has her phone number. I was like, got it. So I copy the phone number.
Hey, girly.
Yep. Look it up on in his text messages or whatever. Find it. And he's asking her like, oh, how's it going in Florida? How's your vacation? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh, it's good. I'm at the beach every day. He's like, oh, I thought they only had topless beaches there. You should send me a picture. Yeah, I should have known that.
Did you screenshot all of it and bring it up to him?
No, he walked in after his shower while I was still on his phone. So of course I like threw his phone as far as I could, and he was
you
like,
didn't confront him right then and there. Ooh,
my anxiety spiked. I did actually confront him, but my anxiety spiked. So I was just like, and I like threw his phone because I'd never looked through somebody's phone before. I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? He's like, what are you doing? I was
your
like,
heart races. You feel like you're doing a crime.
Yes, literally. So he's like, what are you doing? I was like, just, looking. He's like, just looking. I was like, yeah, for the topless beaches in Florida. And he was like, oh, yeah. So then I was like, okay, well, if you switch to that BMW dealership, I'm fucking breaking up with you. We're not doing this shit. He didn't end up switching to that BMW dealership. And then we were together for 2.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Big red flag.
You saw the red flag. You said,
I was like, okay, like whatever. Yeah.
You threw that flag out the fucking window.
Yeah. I was in my early 20s. Like I had no judge of character.
Cool. Like I literally was cheated on by every single partner before Travis. So damn. And I stayed with almost all of them. Oh, you want to hear a toxic fucking relationship story?
What is it?
I dated this guy when I was 18 to 19 and we were only like really together for like 6 months. But within that 6 month period, there was one full month that I did not see him one time. And I became best friends with his best friend.
Okay.
And that person did not also see him for that full month.
Mhm.
And like the story was that he was like traveling and he was like really busy at work. And it was just like the busiest month of the year for them. La, 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 la. So we were both under this impression. Right. But I started to realize that there was like certain people commenting like on his pictures and stuff on Instagram. So I'm like, So I didn't look through his phone or anything. However, one time when I finally did like see him after that full month, I see like he's showing me something on his phone and there's a bubble that pops up on the top. And it's like basically like some cutesy like language about like, oh, are we going to like get lunch when like we hang out on like this day? And I was like, who's that? And he was like, oh, yeah, she's like in my like MMA, like whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like we have class that day and like whatever. And then he starts to go on this rant. He's like, I guess like someone else or maybe the same person like texted him. I don't know. I saw a bubble pop up and I like turned and looked the other way. And then he starts going on this rant where he's like, I don't understand. Like I told this girl, like, I'm not single, like, and blah, 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 blah. And I was just kind of like,
word vomit.
Suspicious. So then I started to like look up that girl's name on his Instagram. And then I found out that like they definitely had like relations. And then a mutual friend, I was venting to a mutual friend and then the floodgates opened and they were like, I got to tell you, like, he's full on dating my friend. And I've been, and like that friend was different than like the best friend that I became friends with. But he was like, I didn't want to like ruin it, but I've been trying to like, you know, like drop hints to him that like he needs to make a decision. And like both of you guys are really awesome people. And I think like, I don't know, like, I don't think she knows about you and like you haven't known about her and like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't think so. I don't know about that girl, but I know about these other two girls that have been like texting him. Anyway, so there was Warped Tour and I'm at Warped Tour and my friend, he is like, that's that girl that he's dating right there.
Fuck.
And I was like, oh, I really don't think so. Like I was in denial. And by the way, I'm 19 years old. I got a shitty ass pixie cut from cosmetology school. I got buck teeth because I didn't have braces yet. Skinny as a fucking rail. And I'm dating this like older, like super hot, like tan skin, green eyes, MMA fighter, super built. So I'm like, no. He would, no.
Couldn't be me.
So he was like, okay, come over. I'll introduce you to her. So and like, mind you, my boyfriend was on a camping trip and he was supposed to return and sleep over my house that night after Warped Tour. And so he goes, oh yeah, like, hey, I guess you could bleep it out, but hey, oh yeah, like I'm supposed to like be back around town, right? She was like, oh yeah, like I missed him so much. Like I can't wait. He's like supposed to sleep over tonight. I was like, so whose house is he sleeping over? So I was like, oh, fuck no. And
same
then my
story,
friend,
both bitches.
My friend,
that's fucked.
Opie was his name. Opie was like, I'm really sorry to like, but like, I hope that you believe me now. And I was like, I don't know. So then I text my boyfriend and I'm like, I just met and he was like, yay, smiley face. Like trying to play it off. Like, oh yeah, my friend like, oh, I'm so happy you met and like gaslit the shit out of me.
I genuinely don't know how I would have responded to that.
I didn't respond. And then like he like texted me back later and is like, hey, by the way, like I'm really tired after my camping trip. I don't think I'm gonna like be able to stay over tonight. So I was like, oh, he's going over.
No, I said hi.
Yeah. So I was just like, okay, yeah, no worries. And then I was like, I'm on a fucking mission. And then I snooped around and talked to like other friends and like I was like, Opie, you need to find out.
You needed more confirmation than that?
No, I was like, I just wanted to like put it all on the table because you have to realize I realized he was talking to two other people. So now there's three. By the end of when I collected all the information that I was seeking out and I presented it to him, because I wasn't talking to him for like a whole fucking week.
You say, here is a thesis. Here is my 5-body paragraph. Here's my hypothesis.
He also, like, I had a friend that worked in the mall within this week that I wasn't talking to him. And he was like, well, why aren't you talking to me? Why aren't you talking to me? What? A friend that worked at Zoomies in the mall texted me and is like, aren't you still dating? Because he came in with this girl that I know with a hickey on his neck and they were holding hands. So I'm like, oh, okay. So the conclusion was, in that month that I didn't see him, not only did he have a whole other ass girlfriend, so he's dating 2 girls at the same time, but he fucked 5 girls in 1 month. 5 of them. So, I expeditiously got my ass to a fucking
Dead
Planned
ass,
Parenthood. I got a full panel. And when I told him, I literally told him, I was like, we're done, by the way, but I just want to let you know, like, I don't know if I should be more impressed that you fucked that many girls in 1 month when you were also like busy as fuck and camping and shit, or disgusted, but you must have been on a mission and you succeeded. And basically Opie told about it and she stayed with him. So then I get a message like 4 months later. So mind you, I got an STD test. Everything came out negative. Thank fucking God.
Yeah.
She messages me like 4 months later. They've been dating this whole time. And she lets me know that she got an STD test and it came back positive for something.
Ooh, you missed the bullet.
And
fucking
I said,
God.
I'm really sorry to tell you this, babe, but I got an STD test 4 months ago and I came back negative.
Karma is a
within the last 4 months, he's continued to cheat on you, and I wish you the best. And they broke up.
You
after
gonna
that.
lose him how you
Thank
fucking
God.
got.
Yeah, which bleep out all the names, obviously.
Yeah.
But isn't that the fucking like that's fucking bonkers? I bullet here. I dodge that shit.
Yeah.
Well, when he said karma is a bitch and just make sure that bitch is beautiful.
But you know
and
what?
that is the truth.
But you know what? That girl did not deserve that. She was absolutely like beautiful. She was like just like me. Like he was like a smooth talker. I'll show you pictures of him.
Girls, we gotta start doing our research.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Like, but that's what I mean. And like again, like maybe I'm just a fucking schmuck, but I'm typically like the type of person that stays on like somewhat good terms with like people that I've dated. So there's no beef at this point in time.
Right.
There would have been had those results been a little different.
Right.
But like, yeah, at this point in time, like I just look back and I'm like, how the fuck was I cool with all of that?
And
like,
you're friends with him?
I'm not like friends with him,
Okay.
but we're on good terms.
Enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I hated him for a long time, but the mutual friend, the best friend, he was my best friend. I stayed best friends with him for years. And
Good
when
for
he
him.
had
Let
his
you know
first,
what's going on.
yeah, well, different friend.
Oh.
That friend was left out of the loop intentionally because he knew that like it would have gotten back to me. But when he had his first kid, he made me the like, what is it, godmother, and he made said boy.
Oh,
Godfather.
shit.
So when I was dating Travis, we went to this baby shower and it was so fucking awkward. Travis was cracking up because I had to like literally like play cool while we're both like handing out gifts to like my friend and his baby mama. And like he was like, traveling out for a cig and he went out with him and he was trying to like, it was like a whole thing.
Oh
I'm
my
not friends with
God.
any of my exes now that I think about it.
Do you have any toxic relationship stories?
I had one toxic relationship that was really long. I dated this kid from my 8th grade year all throughout my freshman year of high school, but that was like really just a devastating first love. So, but like
I have one of those too.
That was just really messy.
Same. He's sitting in my living room.
Yeah,
really.
Josh and I dated on and off for so long.
You know what? You find your way back sometimes.
Yeah, true.
But like, him and I were each other's like first everything, but like that was just really toxic family situations on both ends.
Yeah,
it didn't end up good for him. Like the last thing I heard about him, my cousin said that she saw him on the block in Kensington and was unsure as to whether he was selling, using, or both. The last time I checked up, he was in prison. So like, I've got a great track record. But I do have like kind of a funny, or I guess you would call it toxic. I call it toxic, but I lived in Hawaii for almost like 8 months and I was dating. I was freshly 21. I got there. I hopped on Tinder and I met this guy. Hawaii, Oahu is a hotspot for military men.
Yeah.
There is a military base for every single fucking branch on that island. And they, I don't want to say pray because that makes it sound a lot creepier than it actually is. But the military guys clearly are like interacting with the college girls that are like in Hawaii. And I matched with this guy and we started dating. We started hanging out. He's in the military. And it was the typical military thing of like trying to move a relationship way too fucking fast.
Yeah.
But he was trying to find a wife.
They trying to get those
he was
checks.
trying to find a wife. Meanwhile, I find out a month into it, he has a whole ass kid.
Oh,
like a 6-year-old.
He didn't say anything to you about it?
No, I found out after he like dropped it. Like he like just dropped it in a conversation.
He was just like, oh
and
yes,
I was like, what?
son.
Like, your daughter, what?
That's bonkers.
And then he started, I guess there was baby mama drama. So whatever. He's trying to fucking marry me at the ripe age of 21. And I feel like an escort bride. I'm like,
but he was 21 as well?
No, he was like 32.
Oh, I was going to say.
So he was older. No, he was like 29, between 29 and 30. I honestly don't remember anymore. But I also like know that I was just like in a crazed state of mind of like I was infatuated with this man who was older and wanted a life. And I was so ready to be done with college. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to move me out to Hawaii. Like this is going to be everything.
Yeah.
December comes and I have to go home at the end of the semester. So I fly back to Pennsylvania. He's staying in Hawaii. We were trying to do the long distance thing. I had one more semester of school left. So I was going to go back. I was going to go back.
Okay.
I was fully going to go back. Like we were talking about like serious fucking life shit.
Yeah.
And so we planned around. So after the holidays, we met up in Seattle. And things were fine. I fly back. It's just January. And things are fine for like a month, 2 months. Just like general like separation blues. And then I don't hear from him. Like it goes radio silent.
No.
And it's like 2 weeks of radio silence. Gosh. I'm losing my fucking mind.
I would be like
I was losing my fucking mind.
Incapacitated.
So at that point, I hopped on a fucking plane.
Oh, wow.
To Hawaii?
Slay.
Yes.
Fucking
go off, girl.
I'm mentally ill.
No, I love
I'm mentally ill.
You're committed is what
like,
you are.
I was like, all right, I'm going to go figure out what the fuck is up because are you dead or what?
Yeah,
like,
that would be my concern too, like military. Like,
right. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Like, everything is going on in your mind, I'm sure.
I find a flight and I plan to, while I'm out there, like look for jobs. I'm thinking like, I'm thinking he must have just got called out for work, like, and not be by his phone. Like, nothing was wrong. Like, and so I was like, I'll go out. I'll look for a job. I'll look for a place to stay, like thinking everything would be fine, but also freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
And I flew out there. I get there. I turn my phone on at the airport after we land. And I have a text from this guy saying, I thought you would have got the hint by now that this was over. And that was the last thing I heard from him. That was it. And then I was in Hawaii for like a week by myself, like mourning. And that was it.
Oh my God. The way that I would have
swung on that motherfucker.
A month later, I see pictures on his Twitter. He's in Maui island hopping with his baby mama.
Oh my fucking God.
Dude, I would have.
The baby mama drama is scary.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I will never date a military man ever again.
But you know what, too? God. Like, I was almost like judging Travis at one point because he was like, maybe this is like kind of like shitty to say, but like he was like, I feel like if me and you broke up, even though I have a kid, I don't think that I would be able to like date somebody that has a kid because like it would have to be like a really chill circumstance because you never know, like shit like that could fucking happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, no, I don't know. Like, I feel like I would be open to like, if that were to happen, I think that I would be open to it.
I dated somebody with kids. That shit was bad.
Yeah.
I don't have anything on somene's baby mom. You created a kid with something. You're always going to go back to someone's your baby mom.
And that's exactly what like I've kind of like that can, because it's also like, I feel like even if you take out the love, it's easier for a lot
of course, people. Yeah. Of course.
Early 20s are a wild time. Are we really friends with anybody from our early 20s? Anybody?
I'm friends.
I'm acquaintances with people from my. I'm acquaintances with people that I was best fucking friends with in my early 20s.
I kind of same. I think but a lot of the people from my early 20s that I was like best fucking friends with, like I thought for sure I was gonna be like, you're my ride or die.
That's what I thought.
At my wedding, you're gonna be an aunt to my kids.
Yeah,
that never
no.
Come on,
mm-hmm.
like I had to. I mean, the last year I had to like make the cut, or 2 years, I guess, kind of now
since Theo was born.
Mm-hmm. I've cut out like 3 main people.
Yeah, I've just learned that a lot of my friendships from my early 20s were all surrounded around getting fucked up.
Yeah,
and like. Now that I stopped doing that, people didn't want to stay friends with me.
Yeah,
and then I was like, what were these friendships really based on?
Yeah, nothing.
And then the friendships that I did have, that, because I had a few like good friendships, and once we graduated college and like we were living in the same city, things were fine. Like we stayed friends. But once I moved out of the city, like some of my friends that don't have cars, like those relationships just fell apart. Which is sad because like I didn't feel like there was any reciprocation of like I was always going into the city to see my friends. And I feel like my friends never came out of the city to see me. And I feel like my friends that I had and considered really close were not willing to hang out with me in a setting that wasn't getting fucked up.
Which is not the type of person you want to be around. Especially like, I feel like people really need to like almost like cradle someone's sobriety. Like if you care about somebody, like their sobriety like should matter to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it's so fucked up. Like when people are like, oh no, come on, like one drink, or like, you know, like, or just encourage it. Like one of my friends is an alcoholic. Well, I'm not really friends with him anymore because of all that kind of came with, but you know, it's like a love you from afar type thing. Like I will love him forever, but I just don't like him at this point in time. But I care for him and I want the best for him. I mean, he had friends that like still were drinking, and he would like do something fucked up, get sober, and they were the only people that he could really live with. And they would not help encourage him to stay sober. If he was like, nah, you know what, I'll have a beer with you, dude. They would be like, okay, cool, here you go. Like, and they would be like, I talked to one of them and they were like, well, it's not my job to keep him sober. Like he's a grown person. And I'm like, no, but like as your friend, you should be like, dude, no, like what the fuck are you doing? Like
that's so fucked up. It's so
fucked up. Like, I mean, like toxic relationships go so far outside of just like romantic
relationships.
Family. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I have like so many like family members that like are toxic. Even like the upbringing, like my body image problems come from toxic family dynamics.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the women in my family on my mom's side specifically, it was like be tall, skinny, and fashionable and stylish and get yourself together every day and look a certain way. And even if you don't have money, you have to look like you do. And like, I mean, I've like, this is like presently like the most I've weighed, and I feel more comfortable with my body presently with how it is because I grew a baby in it. I feel like it did what it
had purpose
supposed to do.
Yeah.
And when I, you know, trigger warning, but like had eating disorders and was like 110 pounds and underweight, I hated myself. So like, I mean, toxic family
toxic relationships with our fucking selves.
Yeah. With your body image, with your like mental health. Like, I don't know. But I do think that like for toxic friendships, like the best thing you can do is like, just, you know, love them from afar.
Love them from a fucking far, and honestly.
Like, you know, wish them the best. Like take, I always say like, I'll take a couple good memories with me and I'll be on my fucking way. Like, I'm out.
There's just such a degree. And again, I say it again, like there's such a degree of grief that comes with that. Like when you look back, cause it's always like the Snapchat memories that come up, the Facebook memories that come up of like dumps from college. And like, you see that you lived your life every day with these people, and now you don't like even know what they're doing. My best friend that I was the maid of honor in her wedding. Like I get memories on Facebook all the time. I'm not even friends with her on Facebook anymore, but like I defriended her because she took a fucking week after I had my kid to congratulate me on having my fucking kid. So either you weren't paying attention or you didn't care. Exactly.
It wasn't a priority to just send a text saying congrats. Like, yeah, like same thing. I, you know, will love that person for the rest of my life, but I'm good on that.
Honestly, I feel like this is a good note for anybody that might be like kind of losing their friendships from their early 20s. It is 100% normal. Like it is normal to grow as a human being. Yes, absolutely. We change every 7 years.
And you make space in your life to meet more like-minded people, more like people that kind of like align with like you and what you expect out of friendships. So that's what, you know, realistically you're able to give friendships as well. Cause like I've also had friendships where they expect me to be able to like be available for them 24/7 and I just can't right now.
No.
Yeah.
So, you know,
that's the thing too, is like, I feel like you need to have space for like whatever. Like if you have like a shelf, you only have so much room on that shelf. So if you're holding on to like all this old shit that might not be serving you, you're not going to have space for the new ones that might be blossoming if you just water them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like everything, I feel like everything has its time sometimes.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from like our relationships from our early 20s.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
We can learn what was toxic about ourselves. We can learn what was toxic about other people. We can learn how we want communication to go for us moving forward, what we think is healthy for us moving forward, what our basic needs are in functional relationships. Like, and we can learn what we value. So like moving forward, you can make those meaningful connections to have good relationships.
100%. I mean, even since I've cut those people off, like I've met you,
Right.
my friend Anna, who's a mom of 4, like who has been like such a rock for me and Theo when I was a stay-at-home mom, because she's a stay-at-home mom too.
Right.
So sometimes like I would just go to her house and like our kids would just run around and we would just be like sitting having coffee or, you know, whatever. One of my very good friends, Amy, I've never even met her. She lives across, you know, in England. I've talked about her and her partner, Annie, but like she's offered me more support than half the fucking people that I've known for half my fucking life.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's fucking wild.
You know,
that just goes to show what happens when you make room for the right people, though.
They kind of just fall into your lap.
Yes, they do.
And then you can never think like, how could this person that I've known for all this time do all this hurtful stuff to me, and this person that I just met be so kind to me?
Yep.
Yeah, and it really does. Like, I don't know. The one thing that because I would feel often like in the last couple years, like bad about myself that I'm like, how is it that like Travis has so many friends from his childhood that are good fucking people. He's known these people since he was a teenager, and everybody that I've known from a teenager since I was a teenager are all gone, or just like they weren't good friends. Yeah. So I felt like bad. Then I was like, you know what? I actually like really can appreciate like the capacity of like love I have for people, and that like I'm like it's almost to a fault at times, but like I'm not like rigid and like bitter just over these things. Like I still have the capacity to like, of course, let more love in, and like, you know, I'm not like, ew, his fuck girls, all my girlfriends. Yeah. Like you know, same sort of things with like relationships. Like I never let like the shitty toxic relationships I had like deter me from finding like a really, you know, awesome partner who I love so much and now have a whole life with. So yeah.
Wow. You have such a positive outlook.
Yes, she does.
But you have to intentionally like create that positive outlook.
Oh,
for
yeah.
yourself.
It wasn't always like this.
You know?
Yeah.
Wrapping up, didn't you bring a game with you?
I sure did.
Should we? Okay. Ooh, so I feel like
I love a good game.
Me too. Since we're still, you know, this podcast is new. This is a new segment. I kind of wanted to give the audience an opportunity to get to know us a little bit.
Each a pile and you guys can look through.
Yes. Let's pick one each from the pile.
Are these all the same level? These are all level 3s.
I don't know.
So Sydney borrowed a game from the coffee shop that she works at, and it's called
Evermore.
Yes, and it's called We're Not Really Strangers. Ooh, I like this question. I picked my question already. And I feel like it just as hosts, it'll be nice for you guys to kind of get to know each one of us a little bit. I mean, I'm sure you guys are getting to know us from the stories that we're telling and the way that we respond to things and stuff. But I think this will be kind of cool to like end off with 3 little questions before we wrap up with some group chat gossip.
Okay, so my question says, what are you still trying to prove to yourself?
Oh, God.
I think I'll answer first. So I think I'm still trying to prove to myself that I'm not a lazy person. I feel like a lot of my younger years in life, I feel like I made a lot of mistakes out of laziness and missed out on a lot of opportunities out of what I perceive to be my own laziness, where like I've fallen behind or not been where I want to be. I think that ties in with like my perception of productivity, which is like a really unhealthy perception of productivity. But I want to prove to myself like that I can balance it all and like actually get it all done, the things that I need to do.
Do you feel like you need to be held accountable more often? Like, do you need like an accountability partner?
like I do better when I'm held accountable, but I am trying to hold myself accountable and like teach myself discipline.
That's hard in itself.
But like I beat myself up even when I'm like, all right, I'm going to take a break in between tasks, or like if I flex my schedule at work, like I'm not working in the morning. I'm like, I feel like I should be working. I get that guilt that I should be doing something, or I should be doing something productive. Like I gave myself like these habits that I wanted to track in my planner. And if I miss it for a day, I feel guilty. I'm like, I should have done it. Like I made one of them to read or color for 20 minutes a day. And if I miss it, I'm like then beating myself up to try and make time for it during the day. I'm like, if you don't do it, you're lazy. You're fucking up. Like that's my intrusive thoughts of like
a fun thing for
exactly,
you too. That's
exactly.
hard. Yeah.
I'm like, I need to do something to better myself, or else I'm not working on myself. I'm not working on my career. I'm lazy. Like, I think it's just a very unhealthy, again, perception of productivity. And like, that goes back to our conversation about success. Like, a lot of my ideas of success are tied to like my perception that like, I'm not successful because I'm lazy.
Yeah.
When I know I work my ass off in reality and I push myself to like accomplish a lot of things, but I still feel lazy. So I think that's something I'm always working on proving to myself.
Yeah.
Can you read the question again so the two of us can answer it?
What are you still trying to prove to yourself?
I think I'm still trying to prove to myself that I am actually creating my own path. I think that like being a Nepo baby, as so many people will call me, not that I actually get any of my parents' money because I don't, but I think that the fact that there is nepotism involved with my career and the fact that I'm like following in my dad's footsteps, I am constantly having people compare me to him and compare my career path and the trajectory of my career to him and the movies that I work on in comparison to him. And I think that like, even once I got involved in like the automotive space, every single interview I ever did was always like at least 30% of it was talking about my dad and my relationship with him and me growing up. And like literally everybody just feels like he like formed me into this human that I am. And like the only reason that I like motorsports and cars and dirt bikes and blah, blah, blah is because of him. And like my dad didn't ever teach me anything about working on cars except for how to plug a tire if you run over a nail.
Right.
That was the only thing that he ever taught me before I started working on cars by myself. So I think that like, even with like doing the podcast and going to school for filmmaking and photography and stuff like that, like my dad always was into like filmmaking and shooting everything. And he was the first person to know how to edit in my household and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And like, he didn't teach me how to edit. I taught myself how to edit so I could help him. But I think that I'm constantly just like, you are doing this shit because you like it. You are making your own path.
Right.
You are your own person. You're not just trying to fill these like humongous fucking footsteps that will never get filled realistically. So I think that's probably what I'm constantly trying to prove to myself.
Do you think that is partly why you've kind of like taken a step back from like the automotive I would say like arena? Because like since I've known you, like you haven't gone to the track at all since I've known you, or like even like worked on. I haven't even seen you work on a car since I've met you, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I did an oil change the other day, but like that's about it right now.
Right.
And I think like, you know, my move from California had a lot to do with that. I sold my project car, so I don't have a car that I'm constantly working on. Also, my project car was the car that I was taking to the track all the time. The car that I have right now to take to the track would cost me a lot more money to go, and I'm not working as much. So it's so many things, but I think also like just re-finding myself as an adult moving here was like took a huge toll on me. Like it was just so much like literal work, you know what I mean? And like,
but I think that you are like, you like your day to day has nothing to do with that.
No,
you know what's crazy though is like it has always been compared to him anyway. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's his fault. I think like in the industry that he's in, he is this legendary character for people. You know what I mean? So like they're just so like fascinated by him. Yeah. So I just become an extension.
Yeah. That's hard.
And I feel like that can also be ingrained in you when you're raised. Cause I know my father raised me this way. My father raised me that I conduct myself to be an extension of him. Like, I don't know if your dad like raised you to
like you're
be
a
like,
reflection of
you're
me.
a reflection of me. Like that's how my
feel
dad
like I am.
But like, did your dad raise you that way, or like ever be like, you need to do this because like this is how you need to represent me?
I think he, in a sense, has always made it like super clear that like, you know, when I recommend somebody for a job, if they go and fuck that job up, like that's my name on the line. But for
Right.
me, like I am literally attached to you. We have the same last name. We look the same. So like if I fuck something up at work, people are looking at you whether you recommended me for that job or
Right.
not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that that's a really hard thing for me. Like I literally every single time that I like feel like I'm doing anything and then it gets related to him, I cry about it every single fucking time.
That's
Yeah,
tough.
that's
Have you ever
really-
talked to your dad about this?
No.
You should.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
What about you, Sydney?
So the question was,
What are you still trying to prove to yourself?
honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is kind of similar to yours in that, like, I feel like kind of like I touched on earlier, like my family has like upheld like such a specific idea of like how you're supposed to look and act and blah, blah, blah. And success is also involved in that, like what success looks like and like how that is how it's supposed to be. And like you go to college and you get a job and you make this much money and you have a house and like all these sorts of things. And like, because of that, I've always been like, okay, like, I know you guys kind of talked about this in an episode, but like on to the next one, on to the next one, on to the next one. And like, I've kind of learned in like my own personal, like, I don't know, since I've had Theo, he literally like has changed everything for me. But in how like I've reflected on like now what my idea of like success looks like, I was like, I don't feel like this is like successful enough. But like, I feel like for me, like proving to myself that like your idea of success is like successful enough. My idea of success is like being able to live a life that's like unhurried and that you're able to just like live in the moment and enjoy it and not think of like, what else could I be doing? Like it's like to intentionally like sit and like turn off your thoughts and be like, I'm just going to be like present in this moment. And like, that's success to me. That's a success.
Yeah.
Like a successful life to me looks like just being happy and like raising my children and like, you know, creating like, sorry, I'm getting emotional.
I got emotional too. All of us in this episode today. We're all struggling.
But like, you know,
You want some water?
Your idea of success is like enough. And I think that like making $1 million a year doesn't have to be like the only idea of success. Like you can just be happy with like living a little life and in your little bubble and working at a barista job.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
being creative. Like, you know, that's another thing. I feel like I like have not felt like I'm a creative person.
I get that feeling a lot.
Yeah. Like decorating my house is creative. Like
you girls have given me half the ideas for Girls First World. You guys are
like,
both very creative.
There's multiple different ways of being creative. And I feel like, I don't know, being able like coloring, that's creative.
All right.
Like, you know, I don't know, just being successful in your own ways and like that being enough.
Right. You want to prove to yourself that that can be enough.
And I don't need other people's like ideas of success like being projected onto me to like affect me, you know?
It's so fucking hard.
It is.
It is absolutely hard.
Woo!
God
First
damn.
time crying on your podcast.
Right?
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to do this to y'all today. I was getting choked up over here too from my answer. And then I started drinking water.
It's hard. Woo! Water does really cure that.
Yeah, it really does. You know what's so funny is like I've met so many people that have never realized that like if you drink water, that will help you when you're in the middle of crying. It'll actually kind of make you stop. It's a real toxic thing that I learned. No offense, Dad, but I learned that from you. Because my dad literally, like when I used to start crying and I was having a conversation with him, he would tell me that he couldn't understand me when I was crying. So I needed to like stop to continue the conversation with him. And I don't think it was like
my mom did that too.
Yeah, I don't think it was like a toxic thing that he was like doing. I think he was
grounding you and like
I think he was literally being like legit and was like, I don't understand what you're saying.
He meant it like an intentional way. I feel like my mom meant it in a way that was like, you need to stop and collect yourself and take deep breaths and calm yourself.
My dad was pretty much just like, we need to pause from this conversation until you can continue to talk without crying. But he used to hand me a bottle of water. Like he would literally leave my room, go get a bottle of water and hand it to me to help me collect myself. And I realized that the lump in my throat would go away immediately.
That's good though.
Very odd. Do you have an emotional question? Because I'm about to do the sandwich method and do mine instead then.
Is yours not emotional?
Correct.
Okay,
it's not. Okay. My question is, what about me is the hardest for you to understand?
And you might not want to keep this on the podcast.
Okay.
But that's okay. I think like, honestly, for me, like your family dynamic, that is something that I get confused about. Because I'm like, I mean, obviously like you're secure in yourself seemingly in the stuff that you do in your everyday life and the life that you have, and you're satisfied with that. But I don't know. I feel like sometimes I'm like, I feel like she should be angrier than she is. Like you're the most like normal, like rich kid that I've ever met.
Thanks. I appreciate
like the most like self-made, like rich kid that I've ever met.
But what's crazy is going back to the nepotism thing, like people do not feel like that about me by any means. You know what I mean?
I don't view you as a nepo baby.
Thank you.
At all.
Thank God.
I think
somebody finally.
I think of you as like someone that makes your own money and like provides your own life for yourself. And
I do.
I know.
I do.
And yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I get real lucky with my last name, but
I feel like it's awesome that you do.
Yeah.
But I also, like, as a parent, kind of feel like you shouldn't even really. Your life should only be doing fun things that you enjoy doing. You should be comfortable in every way.
I get that.
Yeah. So, like, the fact that you're, like, as, like, emotionally, like, stable as you are, too, like.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a good confusion. Okay. Or whatever it is. But it does make me, like, sometimes I am like, huh.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would be as okay as you are, honestly.
Damn. Well, thanks. What about you? What's the hardest thing for you to understand about me?
I would say your relationship with the internet is one of the harder things for me to understand.
That's fair too. Yeah.
I think you have a very business professional mind.
Yes.
When it comes to like interacting on social media, where I've never had like the experience, the exposure that you've had to even understand like the why it matters to act the way you act.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have just such a like, I fucking shit post whatever the fuck I want and no one's gonna look anyway.
I've like, I don't think I've ever actually made a shit post in my life. The first account I ever had was a photography account. And I only followed photographers. And that was not even like a business thing.
Yeah, like I think just like the way that you interact with social media and use it to like your benefit in your professional life is something that I don't understand, but I'm just so far removed from it.
Honestly, that's a good spot to be in.
And I would say like the way that you're on all the time. Like I feel like you are someone that is very much like on and like presentable and like available at all times.
Oh, yeah.
And that is just something that I cannot relate to. That is hard for me to understand, like how you have the space for that at all times. Like, I don't think I've ever seen you like falter, like in like a really down mood that you can't shake. Like you were always like on point.
And also just like able to communicate. Like, exactly how you're feeling and why you're feeling it. And like you are like, I already know it's going to be fine, but I'm just bitching about it. Like you're just like the most like grounded in reality ass bitch I've ever met, I think.
I appreciate you guys. Yeah. That's so nice.
No, I'm like somebody that comes from like a family that is like in like a world that is like so emotionally like all over the place. And like sometimes you just like, I mean, my brother just hasn't had a phone for like fucking 2 months. So I just haven't even heard from him. I don't even know what he's doing. Yeah. So like, I kind of understand where you come from. Like you're always just like, here I am. And I look cute. And also I'm in a great mood. Yeah. And you can call me at 3 in the morning. What do you mean
fucked up shit doesn't happen to you?
No, it does. I don't know how I just like I think it's my dissociative disorder, honestly, because like I somehow am able to like compartmentalize in certain ways because like my brother is very similar. I don't hear from my brother for fucking months. I don't know where he lives. Like, and I'm just like, I don't know how I turn that off. I don't know if it's because I know that, like, again, relating everything back to my job, I don't know if it's because I know if I'm having like a bad day or like a bad mental health day, I could fucking die if I'm not focused. Yeah. And if I don't like figure it the fuck out and get to work and get it done and focus solely on my job. But I don't know if maybe that's what it is. But I think that, like, again, like you said, just very like business minded and very like to-do list, checklist. Yes. Somebody's got to get this shit done. Leader like have to do it now or else it's not going to fucking get done.
She runs a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if that's what it is. But
probably is.
My dissociative disorder probably helps.
I mean, at least there's pros to it as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I fucking guess. Yeah. Ugh. God.
Do you want me to read mine?
Go for it. Is it going to make me cry?
I don't think so.
We need tissues in this bitch.
What part of your life works and what part of your life hurts?
Fuck.
So for me, what part of my life works is the friends that I currently have and like the like presently my like work-life balance works awesome. It's the best it's ever been. What part of my life hurts is the lack of like family around me. And like in raising a child without having like the access of like, oh, I have to run, you know, like there's no like, oh, Trav, like, why don't we drop Theo off with my mom and you come over to Bree and Josh's? Like, there's no like family help. So that part of my life like kind of hurts.
Yeah. Your mom lives in a different state, right?
Florida. Yeah. And my dad lives up in Jim Thorpe, PA.
Okay.
Trav's mom lives an hour away in PA as well.
Yeah. So everybody's in different states. Y'all don't even have anybody in the same state as you.
So like that part of my life definitely like hurts emotionally, but also just like it's a fucking buzzkill sometimes. I'm like, oh, well, I got to bring my kid, which like some situations it's just like not going to be a good time for him to be at.
Well, yeah,
like,
you have to take him into work sometimes.
I got to go to the DMV and like bring this screaming little like 17-month-old kid. Like that's not fun for him. Certainly not fun for me. And it's not fun for anybody around him.
Yeah.
So like,
well, also even when you're doing like inventory at work or like even when you have to go to the roastery and shit and you got to drag him around with you, like that has to be hard.
Yeah, it can be. And like, so that part of my life definitely hurts in like more ways than one, obviously. Like emotionally, I'm like, I miss my family and I wish that I had them around to like be present in like milestone moments and like, you know, fun. I wish I could have my sister come over at 7 a.m. and have a cup of coffee with me.
Yeah.
But I also wish that I could pawn my kid off for a date night.
Yeah.
So.
What about you, Casey?
The things that are working right now for my life, I feel like my relationships are in a good place. I feel like that is working. I feel like what I'm doing with my career is finally putting me in the right path that I want to be on. So I think that is working. The thing that is like hurting right now, I would say would be like mainly like my relationship with myself, like my view of myself, like my own personal, like interpersonal interactions, like in my own brain, has really kind of like hurt over the past like few months towards like 6 months. I just would say like unhealthy thinking patterns have like been really hurtful that I've been trying to work on.
Has there been anything that like you've noticed like helps you like feel good in those moments, or like are there any like I guess like healthy habits that you practice, like gratitude or anything like that?
I'm trying healthy habits. I'm trying to track my highlights of my day and gratitude each day. I'm trying to like also check in with myself and like just to see how I'm feeling and like trying to provide reality checks and like understand like I may not be in the best like frame of mind, but like
you also have a job that like
is extremely taxing.
And I've been in a place like, so I've been definitely at a place with my job of like with extreme feelings of apathy, like just like being in a place where I'm not financially like very stable, but like I know my job means a lot to me. It's not paying my bills, but I'm then expected to help people that are also not financially stable.
Yeah.
Create such a feeling of apathy that like makes me very resentful.
That makes
like,
a lot of sense.
I'm holding a lot of resentment towards like the world and myself, which is like just hurtful for me in the long run.
Yeah.
I understand.
I totally get that. Yeah.
Oh, God. Well, hopefully the podcast will blow up and we can give you some more financial backing.
Yeah. Maybe we can all just quit our jobs. And
that would be fucking sick.
I want to be a stay-at-home partner.
Yeah.
I told Alex that the other day and he's like, Casey, what? Like, you know, like a stay-at-home partner.
A stay-at-home wife.
Like, yeah.
A stay-at-home wife is a thing.
I don't want a kid. I just want to stay at home.
There you go. Yeah. That's fine. That works for some households.
Like I've been off work.
Cooking
this
and
week is
cleaning.
my first week back to work after like 16 days off. And I was like, I don't ever want to. I would
I'm not
be cool
built
if
for this.
I would be cool if I never worked again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever decided women's rights were a thing, I want to talk to
Yeah,
them
fuck
first.
you.
Ghetto.
Fuck
I want to have a
It's
conversation.
ghetto out here on the workforce.
Yeah, God. I think one part of my life that is working very similarly to you guys is I feel like I'm in a good spot. Like, I don't want to say emotionally because I think that that's the part of me that's hurting right now. But I think that like with my relationships where I'm physically living, like my physical actual life right now, especially looking from the outside in, like trying to reflect on what's happening right now is a past self for me, I'm happy about that. And I think that all the stuff that I'm doing right now is working. But honestly, like hurting, I don't know. I think I never feel like I'm doing enough, which is crazy because I'm like a fucking...
You're always doing something.
I'm a
You're doing the
workhorse
most
bitch.
always.
Yes. Yeah. But I think that like sometimes like not seeing the immediate results that I want, or like something not happening soon enough, or like I'm like, I could be doing more of this, or like I take one day off a week from posting reels. If I was posting that last day of the week, maybe my shit would actually blow up.
Right.
Or like, I don't know. I mean, I think also like I'm the heaviest that I've ever been in my entire life right now. And every single fucking day I get more and more and more pissed off. You know what I mean? And I think that like health wise hurting a little bit right now, but
Your tummy's hurting.
Yeah, my tummy's hurting.
Your tummy's literally hurting.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and like the problem is I'm not doing anything about it. So like, again,
health anxiety though, that is part of it.
Yeah, but also like I could be doing more. Like again, that goes back to me never doing enough.
We literally all could be doing more at all times.
Like, that's like back to I'm not productive enough.
Yeah.
Like I'm lazy.
Yeah.
Like I take one day off and I feel lazy.
But like that also goes back to me saying like
Right.
making your success, like what your success is enough for you.
Yeah.
Like you could be successful in that you just put a fucking podcast out that people love. It might not be a million people, but like everybody that listens to the podcast fucking loves the podcast.
Yeah, talk to me about it.
That's a
Right.
success. Like I think that you need to like just acknowledge your successes, or like on like a like what you're doing is enough on like a small step-by-step scale.
Yeah.
Versus like you're like me where I'm like I don't want to do that because if it's not immediately fucking popping, like I don't even like to. I'll be like, oh, maybe I'll like put together like a home decor reel. No, because if it gets 3 likes, I'm deleting that shit.
Right.
I'm never doing it again. Like,
Mhm.
but you can't really live your life like that. Like do
It's
shit
true.
for you and yourself, and like you're worthy of like taking care of your tummy problems.
right.
That's your body. You got to live in that thing every day.
You're
Like,
right. And you know
know?
what? Honestly, Casey, going back to like even what you were just saying a second ago, you're saying you think that you're not productive enough and you think that you're lazy. You think the opposite of me, and look at me also
Right.
thinking the same thing about
Right,
myself.
Exactly.
So I feel like it has to be like a mental note of like giving yourself grace. And like I actually read something on Instagram the other day. This is the only fucking good thing I ever got from Instagram. And it said that you need to be a lot nicer to yourself because nobody is as hard as you are on yourself. So like if you're supposed to love yourself, you're supposed to treat yourself like somebody that you love.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like all of us are so fucking harsh and just rude to ourselves. Like you should hear the kind of shit that I say to myself on
Yeah.
a regular basis.
Yeah, same. But like, I think that like you look amazing, and I think
Thanks.
that you are beautiful,
You
and
look
I think that
happy.
you look happy, and I think that you like. But it doesn't really matter what other people think, because like what you think is what matters,
Right.
And like if you feel like even just moving your body you fuck the scale,
Right.
Mhm.
move your body and feel good about doing that.
Yeah.
And then the way that you perceive yourself will feel good too. That's
Yeah.
how it works. I mean, can walk like a fucking mile downtown and I'll be like, ooh, ooh, I
Feel
look
skinnier
skinny
already.
today. It's literally like, I hate to say it, but like going outside and touching grass and like
Yeah.
moving your body, bleh, it helps. It helps your brain. Oh,
I mean, I
my
think
God.
it all just like
They're
goes back
right.
to like we're all like the most like we can have toxic relationships with ourselves.
Yeah.
Like
I was
that
just
can
about
be,
to wrap
like,
up with this.
one of
Full
the
circle,
most
baby.
toxic relationships we have is the one
Yeah.
with ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
we have to give
we
ourselves grace.
have to give ourselves
Mhm.
grace. And I think the judgment that we assign to the things that are going on in our head is where a lot of those negative self-talk comes from.
Yeah.
Is when we assign that judgment of this is a good thought, this is a bad thought, this is a good thing, this is a bad thing.
Mhm.
Like
We
once we break out of like assigning judgment and labels to all of these things, like
Mhm.
we might recognize like a change in our emotions towards those things.
100%.
Here's the other thing, though, is that all of that judgment that we're placing on ourselves comes from societal norms and the
100%.
way that
and pressures.
and the way that we're being taught that society is looking at this and looking at at that. But the thing is we're putting all that pressure that we're learning from society on ourselves, but we're not projecting that onto other people that we're friends with. Because I would never do that to you.
And I genuinely look at any single person with whatever their body type is, and I'm like, damn, they're fucking snatched. They're killing it. They look amazing. It could be somebody with the same fucking body type as me, and I'll be like, oh my God, like they are snatched. They're killing it.
I do that to girls with the same hair as me.
Yeah, for me, I like look in the mirror and I'm like, well, could be worse, could be better. Like, you know, but one thing that I always try and come back to is like, no, like this is how I fucking look. I am allowed to show up and look the way I fucking look. Like, and that I just need to appreciate myself for what it is. Like, even when like you take pictures of me earlier today, immediately I'm like, well, I'm probably gonna hate that. And then I look at it and I'm like, but that's what I look like.
Right.
So who fucking cares? It's a cute picture. It's me having fun. Like, there's more to like your own story than like the way that you look.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
God damn, girls, I didn't expect us to go this fucking route.
Look, we're all little emo queenies today.
We really are.
We're all crying.
But honestly, I'm really glad that we started this conversation off with talking about toxic relationships and like just toxicity in general, and ended this off on a really good, like healthy note. You know what I mean?
Takeaway is be nicer to yourself.
Absolutely be nicer to yourself.
And also like love yourself and love others and love everything and make the world a better place.
Yes,
What she
please
said.
leave toxicity in 2024 and bring in the compliments and doing nice things for other people and treating yourself nicely.
I try to at least
2025.
compliment one person a day.
Yep, good for you. Yep. Wow. All right, girls,
Until
let's roll the
next
fucking
time.
outro music.
I love you guys. That was so fun.
Hell yeah.